Hello and welcome to Birth as We Know It. I am your podcast host, Kiona Nessenbaum. I have experienced birth as a doula, a student midwife, and as a mother of 3 amazing children with my husband and high school sweetheart by my side. After attending over 130 births, including my own, I've realized that each birth experience is truly unique. So make sure you subscribe and join me every week as we are guided through many different birth experiences through the lens of the storyteller. Please be aware that some of the stories can be triggering to hear, so feel free to pause, take a breath, and come back and listen whenever you're ready. With that said, let's prep ourselves to dive deep and get detailed about what really happens in the birth space. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for educational purposes only and has no intention of giving or replacing any medical advice. All advice that is given on the podcast is from the personal experiences of the storytellers. All medical or health-related questions should be directed to your licensed provider. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Birth as We Know It podcast. And for those that are tuning in for the first time, welcome. Today, we are actually doing something different because my sister had the amazing idea of doing this. My sister Monaé is on the podcast today, and she is currently pregnant. And she wants to talk about what it's like to be pregnant, talk about what her expectations are for her delivery, and then we will have a part 2 after she has her baby. So this is part 1. So welcome, Monaé. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So let's start off by you just telling us who you are and who's in your family.
My name is Monaé Felicia Munchrath. I am a wife, I have a husband, and I have 2 fur babies with a human baby on the way.
Nice. So you just gave your full name, so everybody's going to go Google you now.
I don't know if anything, my name is new, so I don't know if anything's going to pop up.
Yeah, we'll see. So you have 2 fur babies. What are their names?
Fig and Lumi.
And what is the name of your husband?
Sam.
Great. Awesome. So we have you and Sam, and then there's Fig and Lumi, which are your fur babies, and you have a new baby coming on the way. Do you want to say his name?
Baby Soren.
Baby Soren.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because, we've been told he's a man, a little boy. We've got the results. I have some testosterone in my body, but, he could be a girl. You never know.
You never know.
You'd be surprised. Vagina instead of penis.
That would be a very,
I would be shocked.
Yeah. Science would be not very good.
I would be floored. I would probably just pass out from just like,
oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, it happened with you.
It did happen with me, yes.
Yeah, so our parents said that you were supposed to be a boy and you were going to be named after our uncle, but you came out a girl. And that was in 1992. So yeah. I don't know how much science has improved since then, but I'm assuming quite a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I would be shocked if, I've got some male testosterone, male chromosomes in my body, and then it's like, oh, it's a girl. And I'm like, where'd those go? Like,
yeah, that's true.
What happened there?
Maybe. Yeah, no idea. But okay, so you are expecting that your baby human is a boy, as everybody else around you is expecting him to be a boy.
Yes, yes.
And all of us would be shocked if he did not come out that way.
Happy, but still shocked, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. But so let's just dive into some questions. Like, how is your pregnancy going so far?
So far, so good. I think how I describe it is compared to all the stories that I've been told about other people's pregnancies, stories that I've heard, some of the stories of the podcast that I've listened to. I feel like, my overall pregnancy journey has been fairly easy. And I would say it has not, to me, pregnancy, I'm like, oh, this is so easy. Like no complications, no roadblocks, no major hurdles to cross. I was like, I got pregnant. I just, grown a baby, and it's like, okay, now I'm just waiting for him to come.
Yeah.
So it's been easy. Yeah. To me, I could say based on what I've heard about pregnancy, I had an easy pregnancy.
That's good. That's good. So you didn't have any morning sickness?
Well, so for the first trimester I would say, yes, I had morning sickness, but it was like not like waking up and throwing up. It was more of like just nauseous, like a hue of nausea all day long. But I know there's a lot of people, especially you, saying like, try to take your prenatals before you go to bed. And I was so hesitant to take prenatals before I went to bed because if that was making me nauseous, I didn't want to stay awake at night being nauseous because like I cherish sleep and I like to fall asleep and I fall asleep fast. But I was like, anything that interrupts sleeping is a no for me. So I think I went through like the first trimester of just being like nauseous all day. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it, see how it works. And then I started taking my prenatals right before bed. And then the nausea just like disappeared.
Yeah, that's really good.
Mm-hmm. I mean, learn, what is it? There's a saying where it's like, I don't know.
You live and you learn.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, or like, when you see Jesus and you're like, he is real, but people are like,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Jesus is real. And you're like, I got to see it to believe it. And then you see him and you're like, oh, he is real. So you got to, I use that with those prenatals, kind of like, like you got to do it to believe it. And it's like, oh, this is true. But in
so regards, like, don't knock it before you try it.
There you go. That's better.
What is this Jesus thing?
Just trying to find something. That's the first thing that came to mind. But anyway, so yeah, so the nausea was like all day long. And I guess like another thing is I guess I did I don't know if this was like, if this would be considered morning sickness, but like when I brushed my teeth, I would always gag. Like the first trimester was the worst when brushing my teeth. And it was more later, like halfway through the first trimester where I'd just be brushing my teeth. Like not even my tongue or anything. Cause I don't like, when I brush my tongue, like I gag, right? But I brushed my teeth and it's like, ooh, ooh. And you probably don't know, but usually people who throw up, they can tell when it's like, oh, I just need to calm down and breathe a little bit. But I was doing that. And then at one point that wasn't enough. Like I had to like, if I gagged once, I had to stop because if I kept like, oh, you can finish, like, it's only 2 minutes. And then it's like, well, can't stop. And I would like throw up and I have to brush my teeth again.
Yeah. Without throwing up.
Yeah. That was hard, but that went away during the second trimester.
Good. Did that happen more than once?
Yeah. I think in total, like 5 times.
Oh yeah. I just remember talking about that one time.
No, you just brush your teeth and you're like, like you gotta go and throw up. You're like, ah, crap.
Yeah, you're like, oh, now I gotta do it all over again.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I learned to kind of control it, but then it went away. It just disappeared really in the second trimester.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but other than that, no like serious morning sickness or anything.
Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention a little bit earlier is how far along you are right now. Your due date is in 3 days.
Is it 3 days? Yeah, it is 3 days because today's Sunday. So my due date is June 7th, and I am 39 weeks and 4 days. 39 weeks and 4 days, so.
Yeah, so this baby can happen at any moment.
Yep. I mean, I don't know. I'm just waiting. Every day I wake up like, oh, not today.
Yeah, and I know you are hoping that he comes a little bit past your due date. You want him to come after 41 weeks, actually, right?
That's only for that's like personal reasons, not like, I want to stay pregnant that long. That's more of like, I'm trying to plan how long I can take my maternity leave based on how long he's inside me. So I'm like, just hang in there just a little longer. Like 1 more week is not going to hurt you.
Yeah, it won't hurt at all. Yeah. And then also, I think it's important to mention that like you would prefer to not have him at exactly 41 weeks because that's our dad's birthday.
I would prefer that 110%. Like,
yeah,
dad's going a little bit psycho over this little boy, and he's like, oh, he's going to be born in June, and like, he's going to be born on my birthday. And I'm like, no. Like, don't be born on dad's birthday. Like, anything. Like, the day before, a day after, like, a week after. Like, just don't be born on his birthday.
Yeah. What if he is?
Then, I tried. I tried. And I already know every repercussion. I'm going to be that new mom that has, like, a spoiled baby, and it's not even going to be my fault. I'm like, this is his grandpa's fault. Like,
yeah.
I didn't do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So are there any other health issues that you're having at all throughout your pregnancy?
None. No health issues. Like I said, very easy pregnancy. I passed my gestational diabetes test, which they give you this liquid, and even the nurse, I was like, oh, this, I mean, everyone's like, it's so gross, take it cold. And the liquid that they gave me, there's two flavors. I think one was like, I don't remember the flavors. One was green and one was orange. And I took the orange one. It tasted fine. It was fine. And I just like basically chugged it because one, it started to taste really sugary. And I was like, ugh. But you also are not allowed to like, well, no, I did eat and drink beforehand. I wasn't like subjected to like not eating or anything, but I was thirsty. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to drink it. And it was in a canister thing. But then I was like, they're like, oh, okay, so once you finish this, it's going to be 30 minutes, but I'll be back in 5 minutes to make sure that you drink this juice. And I was like, no, I'm going to drink it now. Because I was like, it doesn't taste bad. So I just really chugged it. And she's like, oh, I can tell you were a party girl in college. And I was like, what? I was like,
Wow.
I was like, uh-huh. And Sam was so confused. He's like, what? And I was like, just laugh and let's go. Like, let's go back in 30 minutes.
Smile and nod. Yeah.
So yeah, so that drink was fairly easy to drink. Next day, no gestational diabetes, which I was concerned about because one, Ajane had it, and one of my friends had it twice. So I was like, okay, this must be the age of gestational diabetes. So I was like, I have a chance of having it. You didn't have it. You didn't have gestational diabetes, but Ajane had it. So I was like, there could be a chance that I have it. And then I was just going down like the rabbit hole of like me, like, I better not have it because I cannot like give myself shots. Like I can't take my blood every time I eat something. And I was just like, at the end of the day, I was like, if I have it, I'm just not going to do anything until it becomes a problem.
Wow.
But thankfully, I didn't have it. Passed with flying colors. What other test was there?
The GBS swab.
GBS swab, passed that one. So that was great because I was like, I'm trying to have no IVs when I go in. So I was like, okay, don't need that when I go in. So that was good. And then there's another one that I can't remember. Anyways, yeah, no problems.
Nice. Did you do the NIPT test, which is like the non-invasive prenatal testing? They usually do that when they find out the sex of the baby.
No.
But oh yeah, let's talk about that. When you found out. So how did you find out that he was a boy? Did you wait until the ultrasound or did you do the blood test early on?
It was a blood test and we got the results back. And I actually saw, like, we were laying down because we were going to take a nap. And I was like looking, I was like, oh, results. And it was like, you might be having a boy. And I was like, I looked at Sam. I was like, oh, I think it's like, read this. I was like, read what it says down there. He's like, oh, it's a boy. So we were like, and then we went to go tell his mom that we're having a boy because we were really excited because we wanted a boy.
Yeah. And I just find that so funny because Oz and I we're just like, oh, well, Monae's going to get what she wants. She she really wants a boy, so she's going to get a boy. And then you call us and tell us that it's a boy. And we're like, yep, she got what she wanted. It's a boy.
It's a boy. Yes. Yeah. So we were very excited.
Every time you ever talked about being pregnant or having kids, you're always like, yeah, I just see myself having boys, like all boys. And the fact that your first pregnancy is a boy, I was like, oh, of course.
I spoke it into is it fruition?
Fruition. Yeah.
Fruition. I spoken into the universe and it happened.
Spoken into existence.
Yes. Yeah. I tried really hard. Like we tried hard for a boy. Like we did all of the things. Like I was like, how to conceive a boy? And Sam's mom was like, you need to eat a lot of red meat. So we were eating red meat all the time. I was like every meal before bed was like red meat. And then we were doing all the positions, all of those. Like I was like, I need to put my legs up after, or like I need to stand up. Like, I need to do this for 5 minutes. Like,
wait, you need to stand up. Is that because there is a saying out there that girl sperm
is heavier?
Yeah, is heavier than boy sperm.
Yeah.
So let's talk about just like how you are feeling comfort-wise throughout your pregnancy. In the beginning, did you have anything that like quickly changed after you found out you were pregnant that caused you to be uncomfortable outside of morning sickness or nausea?
No. It took a long time to even, I mean, I obviously knew that I was pregnant. So the first thing you did is like, I'm actually pregnant, no more alcohol. So I was like, well, no more wine, I guess. And then the one thing is like also like no more meat, like deli meat, until I found out that you can eat it cooked. And I was just like, because I made like turkey sandwiches all the time. Like turkey sandwiches are my jam. Got the lettuce, tomato, cheese. Oh, it's my favorite. And it was like, oh, no more deli meat. I was like, ah. And then I just had also started eating sushi, and I kind of was like,
Mm.
they're like, no more sushi. I was like, no more sushi. Like, oh. And then sushi became like, I love sushi, and I really don't. But it's like, oh, I can't eat it, so now I want it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, nothing crazy about, first, second, third, really trimester of pregnancy. No uncomfortableness in the beginning, other than like, the nausea and like the small vomiting and whatnot. I did lose my love for coffee though.
Mm.
It's like immediately when I found out I was pregnant, it wasn't even like me like, oh, I can't drink coffee for my baby. It was like, oh, get that coffee out of the way from me. I was like, oh, I can't do this. It's like, oh, it smells weird. And I'm like, and it just like put me off. So I've just been drinking tea.
Let's talk about your planning for this, because so you all got married officially in June of last year.
We got married in February.
Oh, technically, yes. Yeah, you guys got married in February of last year. You had your big reception and gathering in June. And then y'all had your honeymoon in September?
Yeah.
Yeah, in September. And that was to Scotland. And you found out that you were pregnant in Scotland. So
yes,
I think that's awesome. Two things I want to talk about is I want you to talk about your experience of peeing on the stick for the first time and what that was like for you. And then the second thing I want to talk about is how you avoided telling us that you were pregnant. So,
okay. Yeah. So we planned 2 weeks in Scotland for our honeymoon. So, the first week we're staying in Airbnbs. I had a hot tub, so we're in and out of the hot tub, drinking wine, having a grand old time. And then, like during week 2, we even went on like a whiskey tour. We're just like having a blast, like just drinking all the alcohol, all the Scottish ale. And and I don't know what made me think of this, but I was like, you know what? For some reason, I was just like, I should take a pregnancy test, because this was like 2 days before we were going to leave. And then one day before I was going to get my tattoo. And so what I was like, oh, okay, let's go to, because like, I don't want to get a tattoo if I'm pregnant. So let's just like, I was like, I don't know. I don't know why I felt this way, because I personally didn't feel pregnant. I was like, okay, let's just go. I just want to be sure. Because, I've heard like, don't get pregnant, or don't get a tattoo while you're pregnant, because all these like stuff can like impact your pregnancy. So I was like, just to be safe, let's go get some tests. So I got.
And you weren't thinking that at all with the drinking
I
or anything?
I don't know why. It just came out of nowhere. I was like, maybe I should check. And then so we went to this little store. It's like a pharmacy store down in Edinburgh. And we got a pregnancy test. It was a pack of 2, but it was like, it looked like one of those cheap ones. Like you just pee on it. It's like, it's the one that has the 2 lines or not. And so I like pop it out. I'm trying to read the instructions to make sure I do this correctly. So I like, I'm on the toilet and I'm like, okay, trying to like pee, because there's 2 ways you can do it. I guess you can pee in a cup and like let it sit in a cup. But I was like, I'm not going to pee in a cup for one, and then pee in an Airbnb person's cup. I was like, that's disgusting. So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna pee on the stick. So I'm like, peeing on the stick, and it's like, I mean, the pee is going everywhere. It's like, hitting the stick, hitting me, and I'm like, oh, like trying to make sure like I'm peeing on the stick and not peeing on me, because it's like it ricocheting off of the strip back onto me, and I'm like, oh god, like it was just a mess. And I was like, how do people do this? And like trying to pee slower, so it's not like going everywhere. Anyway, it was gross. But so I finished that, set it aside, because it says that like you have to set it aside for like 5 minutes or something. And so immediately there's like one line, and I'm like, okay, because it's just like, one line. I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. And then it's like, that was immediate. One line showed up, and then so like 2 to 3 minutes later, more like 2, I saw like a faint line. I mean, this is the only experience I have with looking at these things is like your COVID test, when it's like, oh, there's a faint line, you're positive for COVID. So I'm just like looking at it, I was like, oh my God, there's a faint line. And before I was looking at like what's the best pregnancy test to take so you know that you're pregnant, because I also read horror stories before this where people are getting like false positives and stuff, and like, don't take this one because it's a false positive, and everyone's like, oh, it's a false positive for me. So I was like, okay, you need like these high tech pregnancy tests to tell you that you're pregnant. But so I was like thinking like maybe this is like, immediately once I saw like a faint line, I was like, this must be a false positive test. I was like, oh God. I was like, I knew it. And so anyway, so like I look at it again. This is like 3 to 4 minutes, and then there's clearly like another line appearing, and I was like, oh my God.
It's darker now.
Yeah, I was like, okay, listen, like, and I was talking to myself. I was like, I think this is false positive. Anyway, so I go out and I like open the door because this line is more vibrant, the second line, and I'm like, Sam, it says I'm pregnant. And he's like, what? And I was like, it says I'm pregnant. I was like, you need to take a P test. He was like, what? Because he was shocked. He was like, you're pregnant? And I was like, well, I don't think so. I was like, I wasn't expecting this. Like,
Yeah.
I was just going to be sure. Just now, I'm like, now it's telling me I'm pregnant, and I was like, this must be one of those false pregnancy tests. And I was like, go take the other test. He was like, what? I was like, go pee on the other stick, because if he was like, you pee on the other stick. I was like, but if it's a false, I was like, it came from the same pack. So if I pee on it and it says positive, it still could be a false positive. I was like, but if you pee on it and it says positive, then obviously we know it's a false positive. So I had to convince him to be like, pee on the test, pee on the stick, so we could tell if this is like a false positive or not. And then so he's like, okay. So he goes and he's like peeing on the stick, and then like 5
Was
minutes
his
go by.
splattering everywhere?
I don't know how he peed. Okay, so I didn't ask because like, how was your experience taking a pregnancy test? He didn't share anything with me. But so he pees on the stick. 5 minutes later, he's like, I'm watching Judge Judy because it was on, so I'm just waiting for him to finish. And then he comes out. He's like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, you're what? And I was like, I knew it. And he was like, I'm just joking. I'm not pregnant. And I was like, show me your stick. And it was only one line. So I was like, oh my God, like, I think we're pregnant. And then we were just like, oh, like, we might be pregnant. And we're like, oh, and he was like, oh my God, are you happy? And I was like, well, yeah, but I want to be sure. Yeah. I was like, I don't want to celebrate because we've been drinking all these last 2 weeks. I was like, I need to be sure. And so the next day we went and got another test. It was a digital test. And so I peed on that, and it was like pregnant immediately. Like it was 0 seconds, like peed, and it was like, you're pregnant. And then it took more time because then it was like, now it's like calculating how far along you are in your pregnancy. And I was like, well, shoot, I'm pregnant, because it was like pregnant. And then I was like, oh man, I was like, yeah, we're pregnant. We are pregnant. And he was like, oh, we're pregnant. So we were just like, we were excited. And then it was like, you're 2 to 3 weeks pregnant. And I was like, 2. I was like, oh my God. I was like, we've been here for 2 weeks. I was like,
I've been drinking for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was like, I've been drinking. Like, I was just, like basically basking in a hot tub for a whole week. And I was like, oh Lord. But yeah, that's how we found out. And we were happy. We were happy about it. Very, very excited. And then, it's just like, we're just like in shock, like telling ourselves like, okay, this is real. Like, I'm pregnant. But then I was also now worried, like, oh, I've been drinking and I've been doing all these things you're not supposed to be doing while you're pregnant. So now I'm like, I need to schedule an appointment. Like, how soon is too soon to schedule an appointment? And it's like, 4 weeks is too soon. It's usually 6 weeks. So I was just like worried up until the first appointment, like, oh my God, did I like harm our kid? But that's a whole different story. That was just like, stress of a new parent that's like trying to get pregnant. But the second part of that is hiding it from everybody, because Ajane was pregnant at this point, and she's like close to her delivery, because we found out in September and she's due in October. So we were like, okay, so we don't want to tell anybody too soon, because obviously, things happen in pregnancies. Like, we definitely didn't want to share the news too soon, especially with having been drinking for 2 weeks and like subjecting this kid to some major trauma in my body. I was like, there's a chance, he might not make it, or our baby at that point might not make it. So, we were just like, keep the news to ourselves, which was also very hard, because it's like, we're excited and we want to share, but we also didn't want to like overshadow Ashnae, because she's about to give birth. I wouldn't be like, she's going to give birth, like, oh, but we're pregnant. And I just wanted it to be with her, all the focus, all the family paying attention to her, and Nakoma and Josh.
Yeah.
And so like we made a pact. I was like, Sam, we cannot tell anybody. Like we're not going to tell anybody until
You were
after
also
audition.
hosting her baby shower.
Yes. So I was hosting the baby shower as well. So I was just like, we're not telling anybody because I don't want the news to slip. I don't want anyone to know. I don't want anyone to take anything away from Oz.
Mm-hmm. And the day after you guys get back, we go to Grandpa's birthday.
Yes, literally the day after we go back. And listen, I was like, we're gonna go to this thing, and Kiona is going to ask me, like, are you pregnant yet? Because that's all you were doing. You're like, oh, are you pregnant yet? And I'm like, no, like I'm not pregnant. Like I'll tell you when I'm pregnant.
I honestly don't remember asking that much, but apparently it was a lot.
Yeah, you asked like 3 times, like in the span of the 3 months that we were trying to get pregnant. And I knew you were gonna ask. I was like, she's gonna be like, oh, are you pregnant? And so I go to Grandpa's. I mean, before we go to the party, like Sam and I was like, okay, just I'm trying to. We're prepping to like quick response, like like it has to be a natural response. Like, no, we're not pregnant. Duh, stop asking. And so I was like, Sam, I had Sam just be like, having casual conversation. He's like, are you pregnant? And I'm like, no, like we're not pregnant. And then I had like this spiel about like, we're not drinking because I only drink during my period because we're trying to get pregnant and stuff like that. And so,
and you were like, I drank a lot. I need a break from Scotland.
Yeah. So anyways, I don't know, for some reason, we go to the party and you're like, are you pregnant? And I was like, how did you know? Like that was going to be my response. Like, how did you know I'm pregnant? But then I had to like be quick with it because I knew I know, because we've talked about this multiple times. Like you saw my face. My reaction was like shocked. I was like, how, like, why are you even asking me this question, Kiona? I was like shocked, and I saved face so hard.
You tried, but you did give it away a little bit because you gave me like this deer in the headlights look of like, oh crap. And then you did this little smirk, like the tiniest smirk, because you're like, oh, I got caught kind of thing. And then you were like, no, Kiona, I'm just not drinking right now because I'm on my period. And I was like,
no, it's not because I'm on my period. It's because I only drink when I'm on my period.
Oh, yeah. Because you weren't on your period. So,
yeah.
And then you were like, no, I only drink when I'm on my period because we're trying. And then I was just looking at you and you just gave me this
you were
smirk.
looking so hard. You were so hard. And I was like, basically gaslighting you.
Yeah. Well, because I was like, oh, are you? Because of how you reacted. I was like, are you pregnant? I was like, Monaé. And you were like, no, Kiona, no. I was like, geez.
I was literally like, Kiona, no, I was like, I'm not glaring pregnant. At you. Yeah. You're like, dang, geez, okay, geez.
I know, and I was glaring at you. And then I think another thing that gave it away is that, like, you weren't drinking, and this was the first time we had heard that you don't drink when you're off your period,
Yeah.
And then you also like got this Gatorade with like cucumber flavor in it or something, and then you were like, does this taste like cucumber? Like you were so in tune to the taste of it that I was like,
it was literally the only drink there.
I know, but I feel like your taste buds were heightened or something because you were so tuned in. Because usually you'd be like, oh, this is gross, but you're like, is this cucumber? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. No, so yeah, that was hard. But obviously, I mean, and there's only a couple weeks, so it was really just counting down the days before we can tell people. And then, I mean, I couldn't hold it in. I think after like our first OB visit, because Sam has come to every doctor's appointment with me, is when I was like, you know what? Like one day I was just like, I gotta tell Dad. I gotta tell Dad. Like I can't keep this. I can't it just can't be me and Sam. I was like, I need to tell somebody. I'm not gonna tell the girls. I don't want to tell Mom. And I was like, I'm just gonna tell my dad. And then I had sworn him to secrecy. I was like, I have to tell you something, Dad. And he was like, what? Obviously, because Dad's like, I love the gossip. He's like, ooh, tell me. I was like, are you by yourself? And he's like, yes, I'm by myself. And I'm just like, Dad, like, I need you to swear on everything that you're not going to tell anybody, because I can't tell you this if you share this. I was like, you can't share this with anybody.
Not like, even Mirla.
Not even Mirla. And he was like, ooh, this is juicy.
And for the listeners, Mirla is his wife.
Yes, Mirla is our mom. And I was just like you can't tell anybody, because it's like, that one person tells somebody, that other person's going to accidentally tell somebody else. And I was like, this is you only. Like, don't tell anybody. And he was like, just tell me. I swear. And I was like, we're pregnant. And he was like, oh. He was just like freaking out on the other side. And he was like, I think he was like crying a little bit. And he was just like, oh my God, you're pregnant. So
Mm.
it was an emotional call, but I was really happy to share the news because one, I didn't feel like I needed to tell anybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, good. I was like, whew, I got that out of my system. Like, I think I can hold this secret a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, we definitely held it. I think I don't remember when, like how far along we were, but
You
it
were
was
like around nine
definitely
weeks. I remember
9 weeks.
around 9 weeks because it was after your first ultrasound photo,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm. He
got
was
back.
so tiny too.
Yeah, little gummy bear. I loved your announcement. I was sad to hear that you told Dad before me because I called Dad. I was like, oh my God, Dad, like she just sent the picture. Did you get it? And he was like, yeah, I already knew. I was like, wow. I was like, wow. He's like, yeah, I knew a long time ago. I knew on like October 8th or something like that. And I was like,
Yeah. There's like a
geez.
date. And I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, I'm like, geez, Dad, wow. I got to find out like a whole like 10, 15 days later or something like that. But yeah, it's okay. I
It was
obviously like
after Nakoma was born, so it was after Halloween.
it wasn't after she was born.
It
It was like
was.
right before. It was after the baby shower, but it was like right before Nakoma was born. It was like soon,
Mm.
soon, soon before because it was probably like
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it was it. Yeah. Because I told Dad. I think I told Dad like 2 or 3 weeks before I told everyone else.
yeah, because she wasn't born yet. Because I remember being like, "Oh my gosh, Oz, isn't this so exciting? Like we're gonna have Nakoma, and then there's gonna be a new baby." So yeah, I was stoked about it. Okay, so we got through some of like some symptoms that you've been
Mm-hmm.
experiencing
Mm-hmm.
and how you found out, how you told everybody, the things that you were doing in your life at that point. So with you being 39 weeks and 4 days right now,
Mm-hmm.
what are you thinking about the expectations of going into labor? How is it that you want your labor to play out?
Before I go into like my expectations, like we took a lot of classes. We took 3 in-person birthing classes, and then the CPR class.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also doing like this Thompson method breastfeeding course, which also covers like your full. This is a program that's kind of built by midwives, so it just goes through like prenatal, postnatal, breastfeeding, all of the works. Which a lot of these things are very helpful because it's just like I get to learn, consume what I feel like is something that I want to practice or something that I want to do, and then leave behind everything that I feel like is like not essential at this point. And so from all of the learnings that I have done, and for like all the courses that we've taken, all the videos, all the preparation, I feel like I am like as prepped as I possibly can in terms of like going through the labor process. I'm going into this thinking, I want to have a natural birth. Which means like I don't want any interventions at all. I'm also having a hospital birth with a midwife. So the midwife that works at the hospital. With a lot of what I've heard from other podcasts, there's women that do go in and give birth, either have an OB or midwife team. And my
Mm-hmm.
midwife team is the team that is shuffling. So it's whoever's on call. I think there's about 7 or 8 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen 2 of them, one regularly. So I'm hoping that she's the one that, is there to help us deliver our baby because she knows obviously us the most. But the whole staff is like really amazing. So hopefully we just get one that's not like, having a hard day.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're having a hospital birth with a midwife, and then obviously nurses are going to be there. But I don't want any interventions whatsoever. Like I want to go in. I don't want an IV. I haven't had my cervix checked because they've given me the option to have my cervix checked, but I'm like, haven't lost my mucus plug. At least I don't think I have. So I don't think that I'm not. If I'm dilating, I feel like I would see it. Otherwise, I'll go into labor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the any invasiveness I've just been avoiding. Don't want IV when I get there. I just want to have it like as natural as can be without any intervention. So that's my goal going into this. Is just to have a nice natural birth. But I'm also not, how I see it is I'm not going to go in and be like, give me the epidural if I'm in pain, right? And I say that because I don't know my pain threshold for this, because obviously I've never been through this before, but
Mm-hmm.
um just natural, going in, hopefully doing this unmedicated, start to finish natural birth, no
Mm-hmm.
interventions. Which can also change because my due date is obviously on Wednesday, which is
Mm-hmm.
3 days. That day I have, if I don't think I'm going into labor, I don't know, but I have a visit, but I'm not, I think then we'll look to see the just regular checks and whatnot. And then week 41, if I don't have him, they're going to do the stress test.
Mm-hmm.
And then so they'll do the stress test and then figure out like if he is, cozy, everything's good, he's healthy, he can stay in. We have an induction date set for the 18th. If he's in there that long, which I'm hoping he's not, because I don't want to be induced, that's when I can see that kind of like natural labor kind of shifting a little bit, because my body obviously at that point has not been like, oh, it's time to give birth. But
Mm-hmm.
so then they'll start like doing pitocin, breaking your water, doing all these things. So
Right. They would start other things to potentially get your labor going.
yeah, which what I've heard and learned about, it causes that cascade effect of interventions, right? And that's just because your pain tolerant, like your body's not naturally going into that state by itself, and so it's like you're pushing your body to do something that's not necessarily ready to go into, but it's like, oh, we're there, let's do it. So that's just like more painful in that sense. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so idea is going into this as natural as possible. But if this baby decides like, oh, I'm cozy, I don't want to get out, and they're like, no, we got to get you out, then it's like, well, I'll go as natural as I can up until like, I can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's a great way to look at it too, is, you're allowing your body the time that it needs in order to have labor start like as naturally as possible. And as things go on, you're wanting to have your labor itself be as natural as possible. But it sounds like you're more open-minded to how it will shift if you do need an induction,
Mm-hmm.
and, kind of going with the flow at that point, but with still having an as natural as possible mindset in mind, if that makes sense,
Yeah. Because I mean, kudos to people that want to go in and just like like do whatever you want. Let's get this baby out. I want to like try
Mm-hmm.
to do this. I've seen you do it, and I'm more like if she can do it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, every pregnancy is different. Maybe this baby is a little bit bigger than your baby's.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's just going to slide out. Maybe I have a 2-hour labor, and he's in and out.
I fingers crossed you don't have a 2-hour labor. Not even for like logistical reasons of like making it to the hospital, but like that is so intense on your body. Like it is so intense, like your body goes into shock. Those really fast births are called precipitous births. I've seen a couple of those happen. And by the time I see it, it's like literally the person is like waddling quickly into the birth center, and then they sit on the bed or get into the tub and they're pushing a baby out. Like that's how fast it is because they're communicating with the midwife team. They're like, whoa, this is going really, really fast. Like, what do I do? And that's also when babies get born in the car. That's when babies get born in the parking lot. That's so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then your body is in shock. And then I won't put this word onto every person that experiences that kind of birth, but it could be traumatic really fast because you
Mm-hmm.
literally have no control. And it's like, oh my God, it's happening. And then like, oh, the baby's here. And then like you're in shock and you need to like ground yourself.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed that doesn't happen to you.
I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, this
Yeah.
is baby number one. He's still not here. He's not even. I don't foresee, like I can see that my stomach is getting low, like he's
Mm-hmm.
lower,
Mm-hmm.
but like I am normal. I've been normal basically throughout the whole pregnancy. Obviously, like third trimester, really up until week 37 and a half. I think week 37 on, I started to feel more uncomfortable. I've always felt uncomfortable, I think since the third trimester, like turning over, because he does not like shifting that
Mm-hmm.
way. Like I can't just like turn to my side. I have to, like, it's a whole process. Like I have to wake up. I can't just sleepy turn over. Like I gotta wake up. I gotta move a pillow. I gotta put it under me. And then
Mm-hmm.
he's like, oh, like why'd you move me? And it's like, oh, like stop kicking me. And then I have to get up and go pee. It's since, I mean, that has always been a struggle. But these past like 2 weeks, it's been like, I'm waking up. I have some like internal pain, and it's like I have to
Mm-hmm.
pee. And,
Yeah.
and it's pain. It's not like, oh, I feel like I have to pee. It's like there's a pain, and I had to get up, and the only way to like make that pain go away is to pee for some reason.
Like it's not a
And
bladder pain, but it's just a pain somewhere else, and you're just like,
yeah,
ah.
I think I have to pee, so I'm gonna go pee, and hopefully this goes away. And it usually
Mm-hmm.
does. So, and like this past week, it's like I've been, which I've never to like just like everyone has like, oh, you're in this week, so you might be feeling these symptoms. I don't think I have had the regular like pregnancy symptoms
Mm-hmm.
up until like this past point where I had like insomnia, like I couldn't fall asleep at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really hard to like stay asleep after I wake up, but I'm like
Mm-hmm.
waking up 3 to 4 times a night to go pee now, and I'm just like, oh, like what the heck?
Yeah. A lot of people actually call this your body practicing for a
That's what I
newborn.
was. Yeah, I was like, it's like, dang, he must be getting close if he's like, okay, we're gonna get up. You gotta get up and go pee now. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, I gotta go pee.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I did have like a huge nesting phase, I would say. I mean, obviously prepping for the nursery, that's like considered nesting, but I think that's just like a normal thing for me. It's like it was bound to happen. I don't
Mm-hmm.
consider it nesting, but I did like week 38 just redo our whole entire guest bathroom. Like I painted the walls, I changed the fixtures. I was like, Sam helped me put up stuff on the wall so we can like kind of redecorate. And because the bathroom, I was like, you know what? It went from I'm gonna fix this faucet so when people take a shower, it's not screaming at them to like I'm gonna actually just do the whole thing. Like I'm gonna, if I could gut the bathroom, I would have gutted it.
Wow.
And just yeah, I was like, I gotta make this quick because there's guests coming and they need to take a shower. So I just painted it, changed some of the faucets and whatnot. But it was like it took like 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, it looks good now.
Yeah. Like okay. You think that you doing the nursery wasn't really considered nesting, but from the outside, you were nesting, like you were painting it and adding molding to the walls and like, putting everything in the specific place. You like painted the inside of the closet. You organized all the clothes like by size, and you weren't just like putting baby clothes in drawers and diaper drawer and all that stuff. Like doing the bare necessities for a nursery is what I would consider, you know, doing the bare necessities for the nursery. But you went above and beyond and did this amazing nursery, painted it and had all of the colors matching, and it was great. I love it. I think it looks beautiful, and it looks like your bathroom is the same color.
Yeah, we had extra
Yeah,
paint. So I
extra
was like,
paint.
oh.
So yeah, and that's just perfect because you're like, hey, didn't have to spend any extra, and it just like really helped you with your nesting urge there. So that's cool. I
Yeah.
think it's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Even into 9 months pregnant, I was like mowing the lawn, doing yard work, and like, just staying active. And I was just like, if that's not going to push him out, then I got to start running on the track. Like,
Yeah.
start hiking, go to Rattlesnake Ledge and hike that mountain.
Jeez. Yeah, you're really
I couldn't.
trying to.
I would be out of breath. I would die. I literally could
Yeah.
not. But
Let's just
it's
start
the
with
thought.
a fast-paced walk this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are a few things that you are looking forward to in your labor experience, not having experienced it before?
Definitely that connection with Sam, because I know that eventually it's going to become very stressful for me. And I know that if Sam is going to be there, then it's going to, help me. Like he grounds me. So I feel like him being able to like just ground me, then that would be like, calming for me. Just as long as he's not freaking out, it'll ground me. So I'm looking forward to that kind of bond and just spending that time with him and like, going through this experience with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously just like the baby.
Mm-hmm.
I was holding our friend's baby yesterday, and he's just like so tiny, and I was like, oh, like I can't wait to like see my baby's little feet and like hold his little toes.
Mm-hmm.
But every day just waiting, just like taking it day by day. Like I don't want to rush this. I want
Mm-hmm.
to go in. Hopefully, I have these expectations of labor for it to be like challenging but not difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I mean, just calm. I just want it to be calm. No craziness, just calm.
Yeah. I think that's a great mindset to have because you know that it's going to be one of the most challenging experiences that you have in your life, but you're going in with this mindset of, I know it's going to be challenging, but I still want it to be calm. I don't want it to
Mm-hmm.
be panic mode, you know?
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you think that seeing my births prior to your own will have helped you through that process? Or do you think it's more of like, that's not what I want?
No, no, I wouldn't say that's not what I want because your births, like I went to all three of your births. I've been to all three of your births. And I know
Mhm.
this last one, I was like, dang, like that one was tough.
Yeah.
But the first one, it was almost borderline to like when I saw Kavina being born. And it's just like you kind of feel helpless because it's like you always, there's that feeling of like trying to protect someone or help them, like, you know, like what can I do to help you? And it's like, well, you can't do anything, it's all me. And it's like you just kind of feel helpless. You're like, dang, like you got this,
Mm-hmm.
you go girl, like you got this, like just keep pushing, do whatever you need to do, get that baby out, help
Yeah.
yourself, like help yourself and go faster. Like so
Yeah.
it's like I feel like I've had a good experience like being like a spectator, right? Just watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say like I wouldn't want it to go the way yours went because I mean I obviously don't know how it felt,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think your experiences were any like negative. So I wouldn't, if I were to have a baby, I want it to be like similar to yours, right? You were able to do it naturally. You were able to do like you just were able to complete the process, right? You
Mm-hmm.
started going to labor, you put your baby out. That is the only experience I have with labor or and delivery. So for me, I would want it to be like, you know, I'm in control. Like I know what my body's capable of. Like and really maybe it's the competitiveness in me, but I'm like, you know, if Kiona can do it, I can do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know, not even just like all these women and even Oz, like she pushed a baby out, you know, of this her vagina. And I
Yeah.
was like, I could do it.
Yeah.
Like I could do it. If my sisters can push babies out, like I could do it. So I'm not nervous about like not being able to do it or like that process of getting to that point. But it's like, you know, I think it it's not going to come like I there's no point in my mind where I'm like I won't be able to do this. I mean, obviously
Mm-hmm.
it's nerve wracking. I don't feel like personally that I am nervous enough
Mm-hmm.
or like necessarily ready to do it, but I think like once the moment happens, then it's like go time. It's kind of like, you know, I guess like before you start like playing an activity or like doing something, it's like you're not really ready until you're like playing, you're doing it. Like in the sport,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, I'm prepared, but like you don't know how good the other team is going to be. So you just go in and then you're like, oh, I got this, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And
you
you
know,
just do your best.
yeah. And so I'm just ready to like start going through this. So I would like, you know, when the time comes, I know like, you know, it's my body's gonna be like, all right, let's do this. We got this.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Yeah.
other than that, like I have no idea. Like how much pain can I take? I don't know. Like sometimes you know, it hurts when someone pinches me, but it, you know, if I get hit by a car, I'm like, ow, like, like Jesus.
That's a pretty big difference. A pinch and
Well,
getting hit by a car, but
you can get like so like there's like if you get hit by a door, it's like doesn't hurt as much as someone like pinches you with a finger or something. Because
yeah.
it's like so it's like you know I have a threshold. Like someone pulls my hair, like if a baby pulls my hair, like oh that hurts. But if someone else pulls my hair, I'll just get mad, right? Like what are you
Right.
pulling my
Right.
hair for? So it's like a different kind of pain.
Yeah. And I actually think that that's a good kind of analogy to think of or a comparison because it goes into how labor and birth is very much in your mind as well. It's very psychological. And just like when you said, when you know that a baby's pulling your hair, you're like, oh man, that hurt. But if it was someone else, like a grown up pulling your hair, you're going to get mad because in your mind, you know the difference between a baby and a grown up, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I think that that's awesome. I will say one thing that you have mentioned to me that I'm super excited about. For the listeners, I am going to be present at her birth as well. I am her doula. And I wasn't even sure if that was going to happen because of the limitations of the
Yeah.
hospital. So, but I'm excited that, you know, you're allowed to have an extra support person. But one thing I'm really looking forward to is you had spoken to me about how you and Sam have a plan for Sam to actually catch the baby.
Yep. Yep. I mean, he obviously, if our baby's not like flying out of the vagina, you know, gracefully sliding out, Sam
Mm-hmm.
will gracefully catch him.
Yeah. Even if you gracefully have to put in a lot of work to get him out, Sam will
Yes. Yes.
gracefully be there waiting.
Yes, yes. And I told Sam and the midwives, they're all aware of this. So how they will help is like, obviously they'll tell him where to put his hands. And then one of the midwives told me that they will have an assist, like have their hands floating kind of underneath him just in case to any catching or anything.
Hmm.
If he's just like kind of frozen, they're the backup for him. But yeah, so he will catch our son and then put him on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sam's like, I need to wear gloves. I was like, listen, you're not going to wear gloves. If I'm nasty and I have to be all gross, like you can touch our son's muciness and put him on me. I was like,
Muciness.
you're not wearing gloves. And he was like, okay, you're right. I won't wear gloves. I was like, you need skin to skin. Let him know that you are his dad. You're catching him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And then dad is responsible for cutting the umbilical cord.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you're just, you just can look and be like, oh,
yeah, I'm just there, just.
oh, there he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Take a picture of my placenta though, please. Cause I want to,
you can actually see it.
I probably don't want to see it in the moment. I think it'll probably make me throw up or something. Cause I know that's the thing. They're like, oh, you want to see your placenta? I'm like, no, thank you.
You just at least want a picture.
Yeah. Just so I can see it later when I'm like,
okay.
Comfortable.
I'll take a couple pictures.
Why? Just
one. So you can see the difference. I mean, like there's multiple sides. I'll give you like a placenta tour in photos.
Oh God. Okay.
Or maybe I'll just do a video and then we can take screenshots of where you want the photo. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Placentas are awesome. I love them. I used to encapsulate them, but that's a whole task. So I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah. No, I think, we'll just dispose of it.
Yeah. That's Oz cracked me up with her reason of disposing, but
yeah, I listened to her story for that. Yeah, that was funny. You give me gestational diabetes, like
yeah. Okay, so let's kind of wrap it up in a way that makes sense. So
okay.
So like, what's one word you would say engulfs all of the things about your pregnancy?
One word?
Mm-hmm.
I would say easy.
Easy?
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, you don't sound big-headed at all.
Well, that's just the first thing that comes to mind in terms of like pregnancy. Like,
no, yeah, I'm just kidding.
I mentioned it before. It's just like it's easy. I'm happy that I had not had to go through the like kind of all the pregnancy symptoms and the horror stories of pregnancy that people go through.
Mm-hmm.
And who's to say the next one might be like terribly hard, and I'll come back with a completely different story when I have like baby number 2.
Yeah,
but it was easy, and I think I deserved this easy pregnancy.
You do. I'm just messing with you. So. I'm picking at you, but I think that it's awesome, and you're very fortunate to have had an easy pregnancy because not everybody can say that. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And I definitely don't take that for granted either, because who knows, maybe my son is going to be Satan. So.
Oh gosh. So let's revoke that from the universe.
He's going to be a beautiful angel soul.
Yeah. I guess the thing that we could close this off with as a final question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to all pregnant people out there as you are preparing to go into labor?
I think for me, I am more of a teach yourself. I did a lot of research. I did a lot of classes. I did a lot of my own searching up questions that I needed to ask the midwife team. But there's a lot of people that like to get advice from other people. I'm more of I want to do my own research, and I want to kind of take away from my own perception, or my own, I guess, education on some of these topics. And I say, like, I would tell people that are pregnant or trying to get pregnant, just go with the flow. Just kind of if you're the type of person that wants to ask people like their perspectives, because obviously, I mean, I don't know how many times this is very true, which is me giving my perspective of pregnancy, that every pregnancy is different. Every mama is going to say that. And you hear it thousands and thousands of times on however much you're researching any type of like website, any class that you're reading, every pregnancy is different, and it's 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
So what someone tells you about their experience, or what someone tells you about what they learned, it might not necessarily be something that is going to happen to you,
Mm-hmm.
or it's even going to be something that happens, but maybe it's more extreme or less extreme. But I would say just, take everything with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Ask if you want people to tell you their perspective. But take away what you want to take away,
Mm-hmm.
and then like leave everything else that doesn't really apply to you, or that you really don't care about aside.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I would say the key things that I took out from that are do your own research, listen to other people's stories if that's like how you feel, and take what you want and don't necessarily take it all heavily. Like take it lightly with a grain of salt, because
Mm-hmm.
every pregnancy is different between each individual, as well as each pregnancy and individual experiences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Cool. Well, everybody listening needs to tune into part 2, because that's going to be after Soren is here, and then we'll get to talk about how that was for you.
Yes. Pregnancy and then delivery.
Yeah.
I'm going to share it all. I want to share as quickly as possible so I don't forget anything. Because that's what I want. Because I was like, a lot of people will share their delivery stories like maybe like a couple months or years or something. I want to do it immediately so I can give all of the details. I mean, I even have Sam recording it.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing time lapses of it, because I was like, I don't want to forget anything. I want to remember everything. And even Sam was like, I think you're not supposed to remember everything. That's why they forget.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to remember everything so I could like share it, because whenever I hear stories about people's delivery, it's like, oh yeah, like I remember this, or like, I don't remember this, or like it's like, you remember bits and pieces. I'm like, I want to get to the nitty gritty. Like,
mm-hmm.
Was I sitting on the ball? Was I comfortable? Like, did I actually enjoy being in the tub? How long did I stay in the tub?
Mm-hmm.
Do I only stay in the tub? Like, I want to know it all.
You want all the deets, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Maybe make it into a documentary.
So the business of being born, number 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited to share the delivery story. Nice. Especially as a first time mom. I want to also like really go into like how the hospital handles it, because there is a difference that I've even seen from without even like giving birth, like a difference between being in the hospital and being at a birthing center, because
mm-hmm.
obviously you've had one home birth, you've had one hospital birth, and one birth center birth.
Mm-hmm.
And my initial thought about giving delivery was like, oh, I'm going to go to a birthing center. But I didn't, the birth centers that were a part of my insurance were just like, they looked kind of sketch, and I wasn't interested in it. And then I was also looking for birth centers and midwives that were of color, and just what was provided with my insurance, because I have Kaiser, which is like not the best for doing any kind of local things. It has to be, I mean, Kaiser's really hard. It's a good insurance, but it's just hard to find that like facilities that you are comfortable with, or me personally that are comfortable with in terms of birth centers. So, and what I've heard is it's just hard for these smaller companies to get into Kaiser, because they have limited space and they don't open up enough for people to partner with them. Mm-hmm. And so what birth centers that were associated with them, I was not interested in, because it didn't kind of fit my needs.
Yeah.
And so I just decided to go with hospital this time, but who knows, next time I might, it might be different. But so I would like to share my experience with hospitals, because I've heard the good and bad and the ugly from these things. And I would like to share, like, hopefully it's positive. I'm going in hoping this is a positive experience, and I'm going in knowing like dang well that I'm not a pushover, right? So it's like,
right.
I go in and they're going to be like, oh, you need IV. I was like, listen, lady, no, I don't. You better not put that needle towards me, okay? Or I'm going to scream.
Yeah.
I will scream.
Yeah. No, you're definitely known amongst our siblings as the one that doesn't, you don't mess with, you're very stubborn. You are very stubborn.
I think we're all pretty stubborn.
We are. Yeah. In our own way, that is 100% true. But you're very strong on your opinion, which is great in a majority of settings. But yeah, I think that your labor is going to go really well. I'm excited to see how it plays out. And
me too.
of course, there are things that are unexpected that you'll make decisions in the moment for, and you'll have a support team and a support network around you to help you with those decisions. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for it. But I'm just taking it day by day.
Yeah.
When it happens, it happens. I don't want to rush it, but I think I'm ready.
Yeah. And by the time this airs, Soren will already be here. So who knows, maybe by the time this airs, that's the day we're going to record when your actual birth story. So I don't know. Yeah. But
okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, Mo. I think that this is a really awesome perspective for the listeners to have.
Yeah. I'm happy to share it. I was really happy to jump in. So thanks for taking me at such short notice.
Yeah, of course. No problem. I actually really love the idea of having an in-depth version of both sides. So yeah, great.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello to those that are still hanging around. I just want to say that interviewing Monaé was an absolute joy. I had so much fun interviewing her during her pregnancy. There was so much details that came out that I wasn't aware of prior to our interview, and I just thought that it was awesome to hear her thought process on how pregnancy has gone for her. With that said, at the time of recording this outro, Soren has already been born. So I am super excited to say that you all are in for a very juicy treat with her birth story. So tune in, because in the next couple of weeks, you will be hearing the announcement of when her next episode, part 2, will air. So do not forget to hit that subscribe button so you can tune in and catch her second part. I also want to mention how amazing it has been to be in this position as a sibling and to hear both of my sisters, Ashane and Monaé, go through their pregnancies and labors. It's been an honor to be by their side in the process and to just hear them speak about their experiences from their perspectives. If you haven't already, don't hesitate to go take a listen to episode 14, where my other sister, Ashane, talks about her pregnancy and labor experience with my niece, Nakoma. As for next week, I will be interviewing a student midwife named Jadrian, who is attending Bastyr University and is currently in her second year. She is studying to become a certified professional midwife and will be sharing her experience as a student midwife thus far and talk about how births that she's attended has impacted her outlook on what it will be like to truly be a midwife. So tune in next week to get the details on that. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode today. Don't hesitate to share this with your family and friends. If you liked this episode, feel free to leave a review so my podcast can pop up for others and they can see and listen to it as well. If you have a birth story or experience you would want to share on the Birth As We Know It podcast, head over to KionaNessenbaum.com and fill out the guest request form. That is KionaNessenbaum.com. I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Bye for now.